Hello geometry students, and welcome to a video on parallel and perpendicular lines in coordinate geometry. So this is in coordinate geometry, and these are this is going to be lesson 9-3. This is week 9, third day of the week. Okay, so first of all, a little bit of reminder of notation. A line can be written with a lowercase letter, and if we're talking about parallel lines, then we sometimes use these double lines here like this. So L is parallel to M. And if you're talking about perpendicular lines, you might say something more like L is that upside down T perpendicular. So L is perpendicular to M. Okay, so in coordinate plane, coordinate geometry language, parallel lines have the same slope. It's that simple. They're slanted the same way, same slope. And perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal. Negative reciprocal slopes. Now the negative means it's the opposite sign. So if one of them is positive, the other one's negative. If two lines, you're talking about the slopes of two lines. If one of the slopes is positive, the other line that's perpendicular to it has to have a negative slope. And the other part is it's a reciprocal. So it's taking that fraction and flipping it upside down. Remember, every slope is rise over run. So every slope is a fraction. The reciprocal slope would have the upside down fraction. So in other words, we're talking about a change the sign and flip the fraction. Okay, so that's something we can put in here. So we're going to change the sign and got to be both, not one or the other, and flip the fraction. So let's look at a couple of examples of some potential slopes. So these might be slopes, these problems 1 through 5. If the slope of one line is 3/4, then the perpendicular line to that, the negative reciprocal to 3/4, would be 4/3. That's flipping the fraction. And now we have to change the sign. So it would be negative 4/3. Okay? If the slope of one line is 2, then its negative reciprocal would be the opposite of, well, 2 is really 2/1. So we have to kind of throw that in there sometimes, because that otherwise you have nothing to flip, right? Same thing if you have a slope of 2. You know it's really 2/1. The rise is 2 and the run is 1, right? Well, the perpendicular slope will be negative 1/2. If the slope already starts negative, then the negative reciprocal would be the opposite. So it would be a positive, in this case, 8/7. If the slope of one line is 1, well, that's really like a positive 1/1. When you flip 1/1, you still get 1/1, but you get a negative. So the negative reciprocal of 1 is actually just negative 1. You don't have to put the denominator. This is just a implied denominator. What about 0? Now with 0, you can't actually take the negative reciprocal. All you can do is you can know that a 0 slope is a horizontal line. So if it's a horizontal line and you're talking about a perpendicular to that, you have to have a vertical line. And a vertical slope, remember, is undefined. It still kind of makes sense for flipping it. Because if you have something like 0, let's say the slope is 0, and let's say it was 0/5. Well, if you flip that fraction, you get 5/0, which has to be undefined. Any 0 slope, no matter what it's over, flipping it upside down will become undefined. So if the slope initially is 0, then the perpendicular slope will be undefined. All right, we're just going to do a couple of the examples on here. So let's look at example number 1. So we're going to find the slope of two lines here, and if you look at the directions, we're looking for the slope of AB and the slope of CD. And we want to decide whether or not those lines are parallel, in other words, if they're the same slope, perpendicular, in other words, they're negative reciprocal slopes, or maybe neither. That would be the third option. So that's why the choices are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. All right, so let's first find the slope of AB. So I'm going to put here like the slope is M, and I'm going to put a little subscript of AB. You don't have to do it like that, but I like to do it like that so I can remember what I'm doing. So for AB, the slope of these first two is going to be 6 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 2. and that is 3 over 4. That's it. That's the slope of AB. So I'm going to put that in here. The slope of AB is 3 over 4. Now let's find the slope. We're looking for the slope of CD, so let's find that. So the slope of CD would be 3 minus 0 over 3 minus negative 1. That is 3 over 4. It looks like these lines have the same slope. They're both 3 over 4, which means that the lines are parallel. There we go. That's how this works. Okay? Why don't we try the second one? So let's take a minute. You can pause the video, find the slope of AB. Find the slope of AB. Put it in its space to the right. Then find the slope of CD. And then we'll compare. Okay? So pause the video. Okay, so there's the two slopes. Let's put them in the spaces here. So the slope of AB is 2 over 5. The slope of CD is negative 5 over 2. And what do you notice? Well, those are the opposite sign. One's positive, the other's negative, and they're also reciprocals, 2 over 5 and 5 over 2. So that's exactly what we're looking for perpendicular slopes. And there you go. That's how that one works. Okay, let's skip to number 4. And we'll do the same thing. We'll pause the video and see what we end up with. All right, there's the slopes. Let's put them in their spaces to the right here. So the slope of AB right here is negative 2/3. The slope of CD is 1/4. They're definitely not the same. And I don't see that they're reciprocals. They're opposites, but they're not reciprocals. So these two lines are neither perpendicular nor parallel. Let's flip this over to page 2 and all the way up to number 12. The rest of them are going to be practice. Okay, so let's look at number 12. So let's pause the video and find those two slopes. Slope of AB, slope of CD. Okay, so there's the two slopes. Now notice that one of these was negative 5 over 0. The other one is 4 over 0. But that really doesn't matter. All that matters is they're both over 0. So they're both undefined, which means they're both vertical lines. They're going to be parallel to each other. All right, so both of these over here are both undefined. I'm just going to abbreviate this. Undefined. And that means they're both vertical, and they're both going to be parallel. Okay? I hope you found this video helpful.